So I have no idea what I'm going to do with myself right now because I had washed this wig last week and I had no idea that I was going to be in a hiking situation on Saturday, which was over 100 degrees. Very, very hot. This wig did get very, very wet with sweat, and then there was the dirt from the environment and just everything. So I'm like, do I take the time to rewash it? Don't stress yourself on a day that you don't have the time. Wait till you're mentally prepared. Lighting is going to pick up so much more than the eyeballs do, and that's something else that people really need to know. I do think, though, it's important to really learn how to take care of your own wig, so you're not reliant on somebody else. This is going to be all about convenience, so I'm going to use a different camera for here. The lighting's going to suck. Yes, I need to get the shampoo, conditioner, and I will show you how I wash this particular wig. Although, for the majority of the time that I've worn wigs, I've usually washed my wigs on a mannequin. The company showed washing this wig a different way, and I like to do it the way that the company shows it because I feel like they know their product the best. So I wash my hand-tied wigs on a head. I've washed these wigs a certain way. I'll record it, and we'll see. Feels like there's almost like dirt in my wigs. We'll see if I can help this situation. And I am going to try to do this quickly but safely. Shampoo, conditioner, towel, comb, and I use this on all my wigs, and I've used them since 2012. The Goldwell Rich Repair Restoring Shampoo and Restoring Conditioner. That is what I use. Comb, towel, and sink is clean. So yeah, let's get to that. I have a feeling the lighting in here is going to be pretty horrifying. Again, I typically wash my hand-tied wigs differently. Although I realize the same method probably is safe enough to use with them. Make sure your sink is clean. I think I'm in frame-ish. I have a little ring light here. If I put that on, would that make a difference? Would that help anything? No. I put the wig, again, specific to this wig, not the other wigs that I've been washing for over a decade. Usually I do those on a head. I put it as the company showed. This is a lace top wig, even though it has a liner in it, with the lace in the front here. So I don't want it to get any I don't want any inversions. Inversions is when the hair comes from the inside of the cap out the wrong way. You don't want that. It's not great anyways on hand tied, but you really do not want that on any type of lace, and you really do not want that on a lace front. Okay, so you do not want that happening on the lace front of your wig, of all places. So you got to be really careful with how you're choosing to wash it. I've done this method now a couple of times, getting a little bit better on it, and where I feel more comfortable. So hopefully this is showing. Sorry about the darkness. I'm just not in the mood to grab lights or put on concealer or any of that crap. I just want to get this wig feeling a little bit more softer. And like I said, I wasn't expecting to, go on a hours long hike and be in over 100-degree weather. It wasn't, the reason of that doesn't really make a difference at this point, but it was a family situation. So, all right. So you put your wig over. I use very low water pressure. I do not use hot water. I do not, I use kind of not freezing cold, but not really hot. It's not, it's just whatever. It's like probably moderately lukewarm on the colder side, I guess. But I make sure the whole time that I'm wanting that lace. The most careful part about this to me is that lace front, and be very mindful of the water pressure that's hitting it in that area. The rest of the wig is going to be more durable as a closed wefted wig can be, as opposed to a hand-tied wig. But I'm very careful with this water pressure going over the top on a lace top wig, and extremely careful when it comes time to hit that front part. I am really mindful of where those hairs are going, the direction of which they're going, and all of that. Again, this is a lace top, lace front. That sounds redundant, but you can get a lace top with a closed front, so it's not that redundant. So after it's wet, I use my Goldwell Rich Repair Restoring Shampoo. Also, while it's maybe a little bit of a lighting, I really am white as a ghost, because I don't see sun. You know why I don't see sun? Because sun and me aren't friends. I have rosacea, and people will see that on me, flushing all the time, but it really swells my body up crazy. Like it does terrifying thing is to me. So Saturday was very hard for me, actually. Not just forget the wig situation, but I mean, my feet were like 2 times the size. I had not the proper shoes. I wasn't prepared for what was going on. So I have blisters all over my feet, and then my wig got soaked, and then like dirt from the the environment and everything. So I don't feel like I can just live with it, even though, yeah, you're not supposed to wash your wig, too frequently, but everybody has to figure out what feels the best for them, to feel good in their hair. And if sometimes you just have to. So people will give their recommended timelines, and my recommended timeline is whatever is going to feel where you can feel good in your piece while maintaining the longevity of it. You can just know that it will reduce the lifespan of a wig to wash it more frequently because of the color, the wear on the hair and stuff like that. And also how carefully somebody's washing this wig is going to really make a massive difference. So put my shampoo over this piece. Now I go on downward motions here on this lace top. Okay, I am washing this. Okay, although irrespective, first of all, conditioner will be a different topic, but I am downward strokes. I have a video on here from 2012 on how I was washing my hand-tied wigs. It's like 4 parts, and it was still basically the same as how I did it always. These ones I'm doing differently. Like I said, gotta be careful with those lace fronts, and you gotta be careful with the lace top. So I know a lot of people like to do the dunking method. Not a fan of the dunking method. I think that's a great way to screw up your wig. I know people do it. They probably get away with it successfully. Some people will absolutely destroy their wig. So we've got on the mannequin method, and we have this method here, which I think is pretty safe actually, even for a hand-tied wig. So I want to definitely clean it, downward stroking on the top. I am not going to be rubbing and dubbing this top in any kind of a swirl fashion here. I'm really putting a lot of shampoo in this right now because she's got a lot of dirt in her. She had hours in over 100-degree weather. She was actually soaked when I got back to the car, and I was combing her out, and of course she was very matted in the nape, and obviously, had I known that was going to be what we were doing, I would not have worn a wig of this length, a wig I just washed, all of that, so I just didn't know. It doesn't matter. I just didn't know. It's a very personal family day, so you just go with the flow. It wasn't about me. I knew I'd just take care of my wig later. Be careful of your knots, okay? It's going to be more relevant when we get to the conditioner part, but it's relevant no matter what, okay? Be careful of how that thing is laying on you. Watch where those hairs are going when you're doing this. Might extra, probably, but if you've ever seen a screwed up inversion wig, you will freak out if that happened to your hairline of a very expensive wig. So I want to make sure her dirt is all out of her. You will never see me dunk my wigs in water and do a dunking method. Like I said, I think that's a great way for people to possibly destroy their wigs. All right, so she's a little bit sudsed up here. I feel like she's got a good amount of her. She's been sudsified. So let's rinse her out. Okay. Now, again, if you see the water pressure I'm using, am I being very conservative? Probably. When I get to the ends, if I want to really, if I really want to wash the ends like with more oomph, I will do that below the nape of the wig, 10,000%. But not when it comes to any water pressure that is going to be hitting this area here. No way, no how. I have to sit here for however long I have to sit to get that soap out with this level of water pressure. I will do that. I've now washed my lace tops very successfully with this method. Very carefully. I did not get inversions on the lace top or the hairline. You gotta be careful with also what you see on social media. People are doing things to their wigs that maybe it works for them, but is there one thing maybe they could be doing differently that's working? Or something happening to the wig that would bother you, but is not bothering them? That's very possible. There's no such thing as an inversion-free wig, by the way. You can put 2 linings on that, like on a hand-tied wig. It's not inversion-free. It's just that the inversions are getting caught under the first lining. So you want to just help prevent it all around. There's no such thing as inversion-free. There's just learning to wash your wig properly, care for it properly, so that you don't mess it up. So... And really, I'm recording this process. I mean, after this, there's the combing process and there's the drying process, which the video will be a million hours long, but this is the most difficult process. And you can always also just let it air dry, comb it out, put it on the mannequin and let it air dry. I do not like the wire stands. I think you can tear your lace potentially on those. You gotta be very careful. But sometimes it will dry out the inside of the cap just to get that going. Now we go to the conditioner. What's important about conditioner? What should we know about conditioner? Conditioner has the ability to loosen the knots of your wig. What does that mean? All of your hair is tied into the wig with a knot on that hand-tied portion, and they're this one's are machine wefted in the back. But usually a lot of people have a hand-tied portion on the top, whether it's hand-tied wig or not, as this one does. And if you rub conditioner into that top part, you can loosen the knots. What does that mean? The hair will fall out, and we do not want that to happen. So, you know, I'll take the hair off of the wig. Like, you see, I'm not touching the knots. I am putting conditioner on it, on the strands, but not at knot level. So it's not at the knots that I'm doing that. Some people may suggest you don't have to condition on the top. I mean, it's up to you. I'm conditioning all the way, but not into the knots. You will not see me putting any conditioner in the knot area. I'm kind of just lifting the hair and smoothing the conditioner over it. And this also on my hand-tied wigs. I don't rub the conditioner into the knots on that either. I mean, it's hand-tied, so you do not do that. If you've noticed anything here, you notice that everything I'm doing here is a downward stroke from the top. Being careful not to touch the knot area of this wig. Downwards, not swirling. Think down. You can get a big knot situation on your hands if you do it any other way, and you can mess up the wig. So I'm going to put more conditioner on her at the bottom here because she was kind of really dry. This thing was melted in sweat on Saturday, so I'm going to let her have more conditioner in her ends here at the, again, from the nape down. Go ham nape down as far as that goes. Like, it's nowhere near the cap. You can just kind of, you know, condition how you would like. Now, what is going to be pretty important in this whole process is going to make sure you really get all of this shampoo and conditioner out of this wig. If you leave product in there, that shampoo and conditioner, your wig's gonna feel like crap. Like, you gotta get it all out. So, gotta spend a good decent amount of time being careful and rinsing it out properly so that you don't have that situation happen. Again, you know, you gotta do it. Kind of find your vibe in this. You certainly don't want to over condition your wig, because I don't know if you ever did this to your bio hair, but if you over condition it, like, and especially then don't wash the conditioner out, it can feel very straw-like, and it had nothing to do with the wig actually. It just was over conditioned and then it wasn't washed out. So we're going to rinse her. First I'm going to rinse this hand since it's got a lot of conditioner in it. Again, low water pressure because I'm going near the very delicate area of the top, which is hand-tied lace, and the front. Very mindful of this front here. And also, if you got baby hairs tied into that bad boy, you better be very careful about how you're washing this frontal here. I've done this now a number of times to a point where I feel, you know, okay with this process. I do take a long time to do this, probably like more than somebody would normally, because it's not second nature. Like, I wash my hand-tied wigs like super fast because I know I've done them for over a decade. I know what I can do with them. I know how they react. I know what's what, but I don't want to make any mistakes. These are, you know, these wigs are expensive. You know, they mean a lot to us, and it's your investment. So honestly, don't stress yourself on a day that you don't have the time. Wait till you're mentally prepared to be able to do that. Again, you're gonna want to make sure you get the product out of the wig. Otherwise, it could feel straw-like, and it wasn't even the wig. It could feel straw-like because you left conditioner in it. Also, do not want product buildup in this thing. I do readjust her on my arm here a couple times. I mean, like, I'm so looking at every follicle this water is going over right now as it's dripping down my arm. And I'm being very slow and conscientious in this process because I'm not taking any chances. So if you wash it faster, you wash it faster if you're a pro with this kind of thing. But I think it's worth taking the time to learn how to do something, learn how to do it correctly, properly. And as you get better with it, like I said, like the other way I wash my other wigs, super fast. Like, no question. I mean, you do something over 10 years, that's like, you know what's what. This is a new thing for me, washing lace tops and lace fronts. So, of course, I'm going to be insanely mindful. And if I need to, I will make sure the hair is combed a little bit out of the way. Unfortunately, like I said, I did just wash her, but I did not expect to be hours in that over 100-degree weather in the dirt, sweating. So either I take the time to do it, or it just doesn't feel as good to me. So I don't have a control over very many things, right, in my hair loss and my wig life in general. One of the things I can control is what I can control on that piece, and I will do that and take the time to do that carefully, slowly, and properly. Alright, so to save a little bit of time here, I'm going to stop for a second, just finish rinsing her out exactly like that. Okay, so I feel pretty good that I got all the product out of her, the, shampoo and conditioner. So I squeeze her out, and this one, probably for today, I'm just going to let her air dry. And everything beyond this point also is the same. Let me see if I can move this camera. It's the same as I do my other wigs. Squeeze out as you can here. Squeeze in her. Let's see where we can move. Let's see where we can move you guys to, because we didn't think we could get a darker location. There you go. So you have your towel, and I put her in the towel. Then I actually just blot her. So I blot her. Again, I've done, this is how I also do my other wigs. Just blot them. I'm not going to sit here and wring it out like it's, whatever. I'm not going to put that kind of a thing on them. Blotting to me is sufficient. I don't have to wring out the wig. I can towel dry her like this as well. And when I comb the wig out, I start at the bottom of the wig, and then I work my way up. So I put her down, and with a wide tooth comb, I just start combing from the bottom and then working my way up. I feel like this is one of those things that I've done things in a rush before with pieces, but it's really best to give yourself some time. Don't get frustrated if you hit a knot. Just take your time with it. You spent money on this piece. It might mean a lot to you. Probably cost you a lot of money. It's your investment. How you treat it will result in also how long this wig will last. Two people can own the same wig, identical in every way, as in literally, which never happens because all of them are different. But let's say that it did happen. And one person could make it last a hell of a lot longer than another person, depending on frequency of wash, the care within the wash, product used when washing, heat. If you're using heat on your wigs, it will reduce the lifespan of your wigs. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use heat, just means you just need to be aware of it. And then just make the choices you need to make to feel you're the best in your pieces. Sometimes I do the whole dry the same day, but I think today I'm just going to let her air dry. Come back to her tomorrow. You can definitely dry the inside of the cap if you feel it's not going to have enough ventilation. Or there's another thing to that, which is, a wig can stretch. There's a possibility of that with the cap. There's also a possibility of that with the lace. So if you don't have a very, very tiny head that's so much smaller than yours, that possibility is going to be very real, and a lot more real when that wig is wet. It's going to stretch more potentially when it's wet. So you might want to dry the cap out. Just be very careful always. We should have a counter here for how many times am I saying just be careful. Also, because I'm showing this doesn't mean you have to do it like this. Everybody should find their own way, but really, whether it's me or somebody else, I would not just take somebody else that you're just watching and just be like, oh, that's the for sure way, because I just see people doing things on washing their wigs that I know for a lot of people have the potential to destroy their wig, without a doubt. I don't care if the person doing it on the camera is not, it's not happening to them. I just know that it can happen. So we want to take the least amount of risks and do things in the safest possible way. Slow and steady wins the race. The race of not jacking up your wig. It honestly really does take time to learn about hair, styling the wigs, washing the wigs, what can happen if you don't do it a certain way. There's time in this process that I don't think can be rushed, and it really just comes from time and learning about wigs, having wigs that maybe you screwed up and seeing what can happen on that one time if you do it a certain way. So there's a lot of information that's disseminated that with the best intentions has the possibility for a lot of women spending a lot of money to have their wigs very screwed over. Be careful with that. I also hold the wig at the upper part when I'm combing down to not be tugging on the cap. So, I mean, I'm going to have to eventually get closer over there. And when I do, I get more careful. But when I'm doing this bigger strokes down here, you know, I'm putting pressure on this point I also do when I brush my hair on my wigs on my head, but to not have any tugging happening for the hairs that are at cap level tied in, you know. So I will have to get some of these knots out here. And as they move down, guess what? It goes back onto the towel. So down those pieces. My heads are so petite, I'm not even going to dry in the inside of the cap, to be honest with you. Again, that's just a choice I'm making. It's something that people should probably be aware of to do if they want to stretch their thing. It's just that my head that I use is so small. I feel like there's enough ventilation going through here that it's not going to hurt anything. I'm not going to actually dry the cap today. Just something to consider for not stretching the cap out if you have using a bigger mannequin, or you're concerned that it's not going to get proper drying in there. But I kind of want to see what happens if I just let her completely, you know, have no blow dryer and see how she looks now that she won't have a bunch of sweat and dirt in her. I think also what happens too with, you know, when you have a lace top wig, it has return hairs. So the return hairs, which is different than inversions, when the hair is tied into the cap of a lace top, on a silk top, they're underneath, but on a lace top, they're coming out of the top. And when heat is applied to return hairs, they tend to want to stick up. Like, they tend to behave that way. So her return hairs may behave better if they're just completely air dried. We are going to take a look at what she looks like without one drop of heat applied to her. And she feels pretty good right now in her wet state. You know, you can kind of feel what a wig feels like if you've washed enough of them to know when, like, it feels like it's feeling proper. Got the goods out of your wig, you know. It's not feeling like weighted with the hair is not feeling weighted down or weird, like a weird texture. Now, because this is a closed wefted wig, the difference we know when you're doing this to a hand-tied wig, because all the hair is sewn into the cap, when you're combing down, you're not hitting any wefts. So you kind of used to it's almost like your scalp. So when I started wearing closed wefted wigs, this is something I had to kind of adjust to, which is being mindful of comb and lift over, because otherwise you're just snagging down the wefts because there's wefts in there. The hand-tied wig, it's more like your scalp. It's like you're doing this. You're not hitting wefts. So it took a second for me to kind of adjust to combing out a closed wefted wig, because you will hit those wefts, and it's almost like, you know, like hitting the stairs, like dun 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 dun. It's just a little adjustment. My part to get used to that. Let's get a tripod and a head for her. If you have concerns, again, if you're going to stretch out that cap or it's not going to dry properly, dry the cap out first. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I just don't think that I need to do it. I feel like it's okay. See how nicely she just slides right over my head, because this is a smaller head than my head. There's no tension. I also tend to bring my wigs forward so that the lace is not even touching her properly, like not sitting flush on her, because I don't want any tension on that lace. So the head is smaller. I slide her forward so that the lace isn't touching her, because I don't want any pressure on the lace, whether it's wet or not, period. Again, I feel like patience is the name of the game with this stuff when you're working with your wigs. It's easy to want to try to find the easiest method you find online, the quickest way to do it. And then, not saying you can't get quicker at it, but I am saying you don't want to ruin your wig based on something you saw on Instagram. It's your piece at the end of the day. And if I do have to do something on the upper head, I'm always holding that hair down to not have pressure. Like I said, hand-tied or wefted, I don't care. I don't want pressure being put on the cap for hair to be pulled out at all. I'm going to slightly comb the front back a little bit off of her hairline here, so the front can dry a little bit backwards on her hairline. I mean, you don't have to do that. I happen to prefer if there's more lift in my wigs, but you could flatten her down, much however a person chooses to wear their wig. So here she is. She's on a smaller head. Her lace is not touching this mannequin. It's forward. You see there's no tension on it. It's also loose anyways because her head is smaller than my head. I'm going to let her air dry, and I need to clean my shampoo bottles here. So again, I've used this since 2012. And so this is the Goldwell Rich Repair Restoring Shampoo, and then the Goldwell Rich Repair Conditioner. And that's what I use. So I did say I was going to let her air dry, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to, that's due to impatience and probably wanting to wear this wig today. What I am going to do though, is I'm going to put this Rich Repair 6 Effects Serums. Again, it's by Goldwell. I'm going to put it on her because she is a drier wig. And I can feel that. And so I'm going to help it and always possible. So I'm going to put this on her to work it through her. And I will let her probably air dry just a little bit more, as she has already been for just a tiny bit. Been just getting some stuff done around the house. But then I am probably going to take a blow dryer to her, like I said, because I'm really kind of wanting to wear this wig today. So as a result of that, letting her air dry today is probably not going to be in the cards, but at least you saw the wash process. Put some of this through her ends because I can see that dryness. I'm using the serum, and then also the heat on the wig is going to make it look better, because heat on wigs do that. This is particular for this piece. My other wigs aren't as dry as this one, and so do think maybe a little bit differently with her. All right, so I'll let her sit a little bit longer, get myself together for the day, and then I probably am going to use some heat on her a little bit. All right. So let's see where she's at here. So she's got a good level of dry, she's as in being dried from being wet. She's not completely dry yet, but she's, you know, more than halfway dry actually. I think that if because her cap I'm sure is wet, I can actually probably dry out her inside of her cap and put her on my head and let her actually air dry on my head a bit while I go to errands. So I'm going to dry out her cap a little bit, and she's not going to be styled at all, except for trying to dry out her cap and get her on my head. So wet in there. Now the reason why, I will tell you, I'm not blowing it straight through to the top is because I don't want to hit the return hairs from the inside, because I feel like when I did that before, it kind of makes them come out more. So I'm just kind of really drawing downwards at the bottom of it, trying to not put heat from the inside out on the return hairs. And she's pretty dry. The insides of a hand-tied wig, the cap of a hand-tied wig definitely dries a lot faster. That I can definitely tell you for sure. All right. Let's see. Well, let's give her a go. A little work here to help her look a bit more finessed. But we definitely got the dirt out of her. I think what I'm gonna do is just hit the front a little bit. Getting my squats in for the day here. The cap is definitely dried enough and not to be wet on my scalp, you know, irritating my scalp or anything. She will be doing errands with me, air drying on my head. And then at the end, I will definitely use some heat on her. Yeah, I mean, she had so much dirt from Saturday. It was kind of crazy, actually. I think for now, she's fine. Put a little bit more of the serum in her on the ends. So we didn't get a complete air dry over days. There was a partial air dry, mostly air dry. The only heat again applied was a little bit to the front right now, then a little bit to the cap as well to get it so it's not soaking on my scalp. It wasn't soaking anyways, but definitely don't want to irritate my scalp. And now she will air dry, continue to air dry on my head. Okay, seriously, like, you'll never see me do that again, but everybody always does that, like, right? They open the car, they have to put the camera on first, and then they gotta get out of the car, and then they gotta come back, you know. Yeah, so I always just wanted to do it, so So it was on my list, so now I've done that, and now we'll never do it again. So let's just do a bit of a wig check here. And this lighting here, which is still dark under here, I'm gonna go out so you can see what it looks like over there. With the top open there. This is what she's looking like. I'm definitely glad I washed her because the sweaty dirt situation that I had her involved in was suboptimal on Saturday, and I was feeling it, and I do not like feeling that grime in the hair. So how the hair feels to me contributes to how we wear it, how it's making us feel, better, worse, all of that. So there are so few things that I can control in this process that if I have the ability to do something, I will do it. If it takes time, I will do it. I did actually spritz the top with water before I left the house for the benefit of the return hairs, but not much else done other than whatever I showed earlier, which again, there is not heat styling done to this. I did hit the front with a little bit of heat, but not the rest of the wig. Dried out the cap, and she's been air drying a little bit on my head. So yes, gonna go do some errands. I actually drive to the post office to mail my bills, even though I can mail them out of my building, because they don't always get to where they have to go when I mail them out of my building. Like, so all of a sudden I'm getting a late notice for health insurance, and I did mail it, so I take the drive to mail it. Of course, today I had no coins on me for the meter, and so I'm standing there trying to get my credit card to work, which can't for like 5 minutes. So all of that to mail 4 pieces of mail. I was gonna say, this light in this car, by the way, this rear view lighting, as everybody knows, if you ever checked your hair loss in your rear view mirror, it's pretty harsh lighting, more aggressive than the eyeball would pick up. So I'd like to preface that by saying this, but that's why I also know that this is a different color lace on this piece than my other one, which is completely transparent in the harshest lighting. The only reason why I am pointing that out is because we don't kind of think of those things when we're maybe looking for a piece, like how well that particular lace may be blending with our skin. They're all different, can be different. So I know sometimes people try pieces on, they get a certain amount of time to try them, you know, before they return them. And even though it may sound crazy to some people, honestly, if I was doing that process, I would not be above going to my car, sitting inside of it, pulling the, if you have one of these open, getting some bright ass light, and then check to see how aggressive it is. Again, this type of lighting is going to pick up so much more than the eyeballs do, and that's something else that people really need to know, that like cameras also can pick up things pretty more aggressively than the eye ever would, depending on the lighting. Sometimes it can be in favor of looking more natural, or it's actually making it worse than it actually looks. But to be completely honest, this is a more obvious lace. There's a more obvious lace front on this to me, because the color isn't exactly as transparent to my forehead as my other pieces. I do have 3 other pieces actually from this company, and this particular one has it's a whiter almost, and it's not because of the liner. There is a liner on here, but it's not the liner doing it. The liner is behind the lace front. It's just a whiter and a little bit more thicker of a lace front on it, that I see that lace front more obviously. The world as a whole is not going to, but I do. So something else just to pay attention on your pieces. When you're looking for pieces, check your lace front, how it's melting into your skin, get in your car, get into different lights, see how it's looking. Sometimes it's hard to tell because cutting the lace will actually negate the return policy, so you can't do that. And you can't really tell what something really looks like until it's really cut. But you do want to check to see that the lace isn't floating off of your head unless the company is going to be able to tighten it. But you also want to check the color of that and try to gauge it for yourself, you know? Because like I said, I have another piece from this company that is so transparent that I actually can't even see the lace in my own car under the harshest lighting conditions. So there's varying degrees of types of lace, because we all have different skin colors, probably different thicknesses to the lace. There's so much to this. Like, I feel like I've gone to some kind of forced masterclass of Wiglandia this past year and searching for different kinds of wigs, and not all for nothing to, you know, learn along the way for myself, but I hope that this can be beneficial for other people to find their right piece. Just sort of little things here and there to be aware of. Little things to be aware of in your washing your wig. Whatever can help somebody else have a higher likelihood of having a successful experience in getting their own wig. Makes me feel like, just like speaking about hair loss starting 17 years ago, just, you know, trying to help other women, help me feel like my own hair loss wasn't in vain. I think, you know, sharing tips of my, or not, I don't know if it's tips, but sharing things that I'm learning along the way in this new wig process with other people I think can help other people. So, so I wanted to share that. That was my first stop. I really just have to go to the grocery store, and that's it. I will say, if you have a situation where, like I said, this is bugging me to holy heck, like because I can see it a little bit more. One of the ways that lace can be concealed a little bit is if baby hairs are added over that. It can actually help to really conceal the lace to, you know, varying degrees, but like it does a great job of kind of like meddling the eye's ability to kind of, you know, see where things are at. That's also an option if you find that you had a lace front that maybe it's not blending as well as you would like. Adding baby hairs is a possibility to get it to possibly be disguised more onto your forehead. So we are still in the same day here. A second. Started this day with a dirty wig. It's now washed. Would love to have more light in here, but I don't know how to make this a thing. I guess I could plug this little vanity light thing in. Last time I tried to do this, it dropped and I broke it. So let's try to avoid that. Would it do anything? I don't know. But it might do sometimes that the camera then refocuses and that's not good. So I have to be careful with that. Very careful. Okay, so this wig was washed this morning, as everybody saw. She has been primarily air dried. Very light heat was applied to the front, just a tiny bit in this region. All the rest of it was not touched with heat, and the cap was actually blown out a little bit so that I didn't put on a wet wig on my head. So I own the Dyson, but I don't really use it from the curling thing. I just never really got the hang of it. But I do use the smoothing brush part of it. I'm gonna mist it a little bit just so it has a little bit of wetness in her. And I'm gonna start with the smoothing brush and see if that does anything. So. I should say the reason why I'm being very deliberate with this right now, holding the hair on this area, is because there's return hairs. And when you apply heat to return hairs, they can tend to want to whoosh, go out. So I'm trying to be mindful of them. Some have more unruly return hairs than others, but I just wanted it to be a little more smoother looking. We will see if we accomplish anything. If we don't, well, then I guess we don't. So we'll see. Switch this out here. No, I'm not great with the Dyson. Use the tools I have, do the best that I can. This is what I can do. Now, I am holding my lace down when I tug back, because you don't want to stretch your lace. So if I'm ever tugging on my piece, I will be definitely holding the front lace down. Here. Hold down your lace. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to be a hairstylist to just find something that works for you in this process. It's your wig. It's your life. Be able to do what you want with it. I feel like when we're dealing with wigs, there are two components to this. There's what would be a styling, like what a professional stylist will do to the wig to make it look, you know, blown out, the whole bit, you know, curls, whatever you're looking for as a style. And then there's getting the wig to look natural on your head. I think they're actually two different things. So most of what I've done in my wig life is just learn to manipulate the piece, and I think this is on a per piece basis, to help it to look the most natural on my head, which is different than a official style. That's not to say that I don't use a curling iron. That's not to say I don't try to put a little bit of a style into it at times. It's just not going to be as good as if it was professionally done. I get it done to the point where I feel comfortable in my wig, even when I'm putting a kind of a style into it. But I feel like most of what I've done in my wig life is really just manipulating the hair so that it can look the most natural, which is totally different, like I said, than officially styling your wig. So that can be done with water, comb, blow dryer, curling iron, just learning to really work the wig. So she started off pretty dirty due to the unexpected hike on Saturday, where she was melting in the sun with sweat and dirt all around us for hours. And she's gotten clean, and now she had a little bit of heat added to her at the end of the day to give her a little bit more sleekness. And that's it. That's what's involved for me to wash a piece for the most part. Sometimes I do it all in one shot, sometimes not. I do think though it's important to really learn how to take care of your own wig, so you're not reliant on somebody else. And I do mean even when it comes to, if you want to have curls in your piece, learning how to use a curling iron if you want to do that. It doesn't have to be perfect, just something that you can live with. That'll make you feel good, because it sucks to be reliant on somebody to have to do things for you. And wigs, they're very much a part of my life, so I need to know how to do every single aspect of them for myself. I can have other people help me to do it better when those opportunities present themselves, or I'm doing something, going to a special event or whatever. I'll ask Sophie to style my wig, put some nice curls in it that'll look a lot better than my curls. But it's really important to be self-sufficient in washing, styling, as far as getting the wig to look more realistic on your own head, styling if you want to learn how to use a curling iron or something else to give it a little more oomph, because it feels good to just have control. We don't get much control over this process, right? And it's just nice to get control where we can get control. This is one of the ways that you can do that for yourself. It just takes time to learn what will work for you.